is Whiskey 2 Radio Echo, live in the RHR studio. Hello, this is Ray, W2RE. I'm here in the RHR studio in New York. I'm going to just talk quickly about how we operate remote multi-multi and how we pulled off 8,200 Qs as a multi-multi on CW in the WPX CW contest last weekend. Prior to the contest, we had to work on the logger. The logger is the most important piece when operating remote. You know, we have all the functionality to turn the antennas, keep control on the amplifiers, but the most important piece is the software. To log everybody in one simple place. Now, we could do it different ways. We could use N1MM. We could use WriteLog. We could use any of the popular logging software program today and try to get it all networked where all the operators are all coming in and, they have the N1MM locally and we merge all the logs together. In that case, it becomes very difficult. So what we do is we actually log in the cloud. We all operate in this same console that I have in front of you. So this is the WPX console that we operated from. And if you notice, up at the top here in the band scope, the pan adapter, you'll see a bunch of call signs. And those are DX spots. So that's our band map. So if anything shows up in the DX cluster and it's a new prefix, we could click on that and instantly change the frequency. So if you notice, I'm on 14074 at the moment. Let me put this into CW mode. And if I click on, say, one of these spots over here, I'll click on Lima Zulu 1 Queen India, the frequency automatically changes. I'm already there. So this is our band map. This is how we chase the DX spots. Very important to have this feature when you're operating in a multi-environment. Not needed if you're single op unassisted, of course. You wouldn't use this. So we have our band map up here. That was one of the new features that we added to the contest over the SSB. So we did have the ability to chase spots, but let's be quite honest with you. WPX contest is all about running. Run, 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 run. We did not have an in-band station. But that's on our list. So that's how we did the DX cluster. Right up here, right here in the band map. Just click on any one of these spots and the frequency will change right to it. And this is all from a web browser. This is not your traditional contest logging software that you would download off the internet and then try to set up your COM ports and all that other good stuff to get your radio working. All we do here is we connect to a web page with a username and password, and all 11 operators had this console. All 11 operators in real time had this console. So we knew what each other operator was doing at all times. Another feature that we used, and I'll bring that up real quick here. I'm going to slide this over. I'm going to go to how we communicated. How did all 11 operators communicate during the contest? A few people asked me, how do you do that? How do you communicate? How do you do band changes? How do you do, not really band changes, but how do you change operators? Very, very simple. Very simple. I'll bring this right over here, this window right here. This was our chat window during the contest. And this is how we communicated with each other during the contest. I'm not sure if that popped up. I hope, yep, it does. Okay, great. And you could just see we're all communicating with each other in here. You got Mike N2RC, you got Ken N2ZN, and we're all communicating in a thing called Slack. That's how we communicated. That's how we do changing of operator. Very simple. Not complicated. It was a very simple process to change operators. So we communicated the whole weekend inside of Slack. It's no different than sitting next to the guy and patting him on the shoulder and said, hey, let me take over. Let me run for a little bit. So the Slack channel was the easiest way to operate and communicate with the other operators. Again, those of you who just checked in, I'm talking about the WPX CW contest that we just recently did. And let me just share this off to a few groups here. Just stand by 1 second. Let me just share this to a few groups so other people are in here, and I'll start from the beginning. I'm just typing in here on my phone, and I like to get the word out on how this is all done remotely, because if you notice, in the multi-sync, and multi-2 categories, almost one-third of all the scores in those 3 categories were remote operations. That was unheard of a year ago. That's because we now have COVID-19, and we need, social distancing. So a lot of things have changed over the last year in the remote technology. The most important one, in my opinion, is the elimination of the remote rig. That one, I think, is the most important one. Because the remote rig, for most people, is very complicated to set up. And we eliminated the remote rig. I know some are still using the remote rig, but we don't have a need for the remote rig any further, and it really streamlines everything. So let me back up here. Let me start from the beginning and explain to the people that just checked in here on how we operated remote in a WPX CW contest. So during the SSB contest, we had a bunch of youths operate with us, with some of us old timers, and we made like 7,500 Qs, 33 million points, give or take. It was top score in the world with our multi operation. It was 4 youths and 6 operators over the age of 26. The 4 youths were, it might have been 5 youths, but I can't remember. They were all under the age of 26. The youngest was 13, and a couple 17-year-olds. So we did the SSB contest. It was a great success. So we build on success. We found out that we needed to do some upgrades to the logger. So the first thing you'll notice at the top of the logger here, by the way, this logger's in the cloud. It's web-based. And when you connect to your username and password on Remote Ham Radio, it drops you right into this page here. You can operate this as a multi-op, single op, or however you want to operate the contest from. It's very, very simple. I mean, we can't make it any simpler than it is. You don't have to never worry about COM ports. You don't have to worry about ever getting your logger set up. It's already automatically set up for you. The only thing you do is set up your macros. And we operated in the ESM mode, enter send message. Once you get a hang of it, it's pretty easy to use. I'm not sure how many of us use paddles in a contest. I didn't use any paddles. I think most of the operators did not use paddles. But you could use paddles because we do allow the operation to connect with a Flex Maestro or a K3. The K3 Mini will actually connect to a Flex station. All you're using is the VFO knob and a few functionalities. So anyway, to get back to the point here, let me just hit one more One more chat here. Somebody's asking me a question. So let me just answer this here. Okay, so all right. Let me just get in here and recognize a few people that are in here before I continue on here. So hello, Connor. We see Hotel ND8, Sugar Mike X-Ray in here. We got Ferry. We got Fetty, Italy Zulu 1 Echo Papa Mike. Derek Golf, Italy 4 Oscar Hotel. Charles, hello, Charles. Charles was one of our team members. He's coming in from Twitch TV. Alpha 4 Lima Sugar, 13 years old. He was tied up with a wedding over the weekend, but he did get the last 4 hours into the contest. We got Jordani. We got Connor, who was part of our SSB contest. And we have Eugenio in here. So everybody, thanks for being in here. And I'm just discussing how we made 8,200 Qs remotely. I don't know if that's the highest Q total ever in a remote operation. It very well may be. I don't know. We were fully remote. Nobody physically operated on site. Even though I was physically there on site, but I was still operating remotely from my PC. And for a matter of fact, I should probably bring that up. So let me show you how I operated the contest. Let me just shut these off here. I'll show you how I operated the contest here. Just scrolling back here. Just give me one moment. So this is how I did it. So I was in a pop-up camper on site. And this was the console that I operated from the pop-up camper. And here's the pop-up camper. And you can see some of the towers at the communication site. This is W1 Joneport. And here I am. Here's my truck. Here I am in the pop-up camper. And I was operating from this PC. So that's how I operated on site. I was physically on site. And the only reason I was physically on site, just in case we blew a radio. Just in case we blew an amplifier. I was there just for those issues. It never happened. Technically, I didn't have to be there. The only problem we had during the WPX contest was one of our servers overheated. Not the amplifier, not the radio, but the server. And when I went down to the building, the heat built up from the two amplifiers going on continuously created quite a bit of heat. So when I touched the server by hand, it almost burnt my hand. So all I did was open up the door and put on the exhaust fan. And that cured that problem. So technically, I needed to be there to open up that door. Could have we gotten the server back by shutting it off? Yeah, probably. We would have been down for a station for 30 minutes while the server cooled down. But that was the only issue that we had where I had to do any intervention during the contest. So to get back to the contest, so we got our built-in DX cluster up here. So if we wanted to chase spots and new multipliers, we could do that right up here in the band scope. And then, of course, we have our rotor control here. You can point in two different directions. You can point the same direction. Depending on the station you were connected to, you had the option of shooting to the U.S. and also shooting to Europe. Over here, you had your frequency readout to the right, amplifier control, all the good stuff that you need. Now let's get down to the good stuff, the logger. So I'm just going to scroll up here a little bit so you understand how this all worked. So right here in the call sign, this is where we would run. You have, if you notice right here in the center of the screen, there's a run feature. Remember, this is all in the cloud. It's in a web browser. All I had to do was click it, and I would go to the search and pound mode. Back to run, back to search and pound, back to run. And it automatically generated the serial number for us. Again, all in the cloud. This is all in the cloud. No software locally. So basically, we're all connected to the same software, all 11 operators, all on the same web page, some in different countries. So being able to do it this way saves a lot of headache and heartache. Trust me. Trying to get 11 operators together to get N1MN set up on each one of those computers, and then getting the logs to merge and to get the serial numbers to work would be a task in itself. So, the most important thing for us is everybody uses the same logger and everybody sees the same thing. And that's exactly what happened here. So we operated all from the same logger, and we made 8,200 queues remotely. 32 million points, 8,200 queues. And the beauty about our logger is it's pretty simple. We don't have all the bells and whistles. 90% of the stuff that you get in N1MM or the logger that Crossy owns, DX log, you don't need. You need just a couple functionalities. You got to be able to generate your CW remotely with macros. In our case, we used ESM, which is called Enter Send Message. So you're just hitting Enter, 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 and just putting in information. And that's how we operated this whole contest. ESM. Some operators had paddles if they had a K3 Mini or Flex Maestro. I did not operate that way. Some did. I don't need paddles to operate a contest. I'm used to operating from the keyboard. Takes a little bit to get used to, but it's not that difficult. Most young operators today, I'm pretty sure Charles in here could agree that, I don't know, Charles, do you even use paddles? Alpha 4 Lima Sugar's in here. And also, we have check partial. That's a good point. So let's just say I put a call sign in here. You'll see, I just put my call sign in here, and there's the check partial. These are the things that you really need in a contest. You need check partial. You need to be able to generate serial numbers. You need a DX cluster if you're doing single op assisted or multi-operation. You need to know what your score is. So down here we have our summary, 8,248 queues, 31.96 million. It's nice to know your queues. And then you can see what the other operators are doing. I don't know if any other contest logger does this, tracks their operators in real time. But this is the operator list of the 11 operators. And it told us each QSO that was made by each operator, which really was a great feature. And by the way, KL9A came across with 2,698 queues. Where there was a band that needed to be run, we put Chris there. One heck of an operator. And then Bill, Kilo Oscar 7 Sugar came in number 2 with 1,300 queues. So, yeah, we did really well. And we did it remotely. And here was the band breakdown. 633 queues on 10 meters. Now, I looked at the U.S. I wanted to see any other U.S. stations even claim close to 633 queues. Nobody was even close. We worked more Europeans on 10 meters than any other station that worked total QSOs on 10 meters. We had a real nice E-skip into Europe on 10 meters from Maine. I don't think it reached too many other locations in the U.S. 633 QSOs on 10 meters, 250 of them to Europe. 1,412 QSOs on 15 meters. Who would ever thought going into this contest we were going to make almost 1,500 queues on 10 meters? It was amazing. And we were able to even keep track of countries. We actually worked 82 countries on 15 meters. Not bad for a sunspot number of 0 and the SFI of 70. 20 meters. It was just around the clock, nonstop. I think maybe around 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, the band closed for about an hour or two. So 20 meters was open literally 44 of the 48 hours. We came through with 2,900 queues, 99 countries. 40 meters, 2,230 queues, 76 countries. And by the way, 160, 80, 40, and 20 meters are all new U.S. records. We almost beat the 10. We almost beat the 10-meter record. The most QSOs ever made on 10 meters in WPX, believe it or not, is only 704 Qs. We came through with 633, and that was all E-skip. So all in all, it was a great weekend. 852 QSOs on 80, 217 on 160 meters. We all operated from this console in the web. Now, let me tell you what we're working on now. What's the next step we're going to be working on? Very simple. In-band. We can do in-band right in this console. So that's the next feature that we're going to be working on. In-band. We have some time. We're not worried about any of these upcoming contests. We're worried about CQ Worldwide. So in-band. Our lead developer, Rock, Whiskey 1 X-Ray, is working on that. And we're pretty confident that we're going to be able to pull it off without any difficulties. We almost had it ready for this contest, but, you really don't need an in-band in WPX CW. Let's be honest. It's all about running, and most of those stations found us anyway. Again, our next big step is in-band. So if we can pull off in-band station, that's beautiful. Now, the other thing that we're working on, we're going to want to be able to shoot in some of these big contests like CQ Worldwide, firing 2 different directions. We have rotating towers where you can beam one rotating tower towards maybe Asia, one rotating tower towards Europe, or maybe that rotating tower towards Asia could be rotating tower towards South America. So we're going to try to shoot and fire in 2 different directions, and on top of that, have the in-band station all operating from this console. So, yes. Rock just asked me a question here if I'm on Jonesport. Let me just respond to him and tell him yes. Let me just see... Okay, I just responded to Rock. This is the beauty about Slack. He just asked me, are you on Jonesport 2160? And I just said yes. So anyway, to get back to it. So right now, we're in pretty good shape here. Not many would have thought that WPX, with 11 operators, with very minor glitches during the contest. I mean, we had literally very little problems. Some interaction from a couple stations. So we got to do a little better job on the filtering. Most of the stuff just worked. Everything just worked as planned. And it was a really good time. All 11 operators came through with a great experience. Yes, can we improve on it? Yes, absolutely. A lot can be improved on our operation in the WPX contest. There's no doubt about it. But, again, 2 operations, SSB WPX, CW WPX, multi. Nobody else in the world is pulling this off other than N6RO or NR60, the guys on the West Coast. And they did a good job. They came in with 10 million points remote. Nobody's pulling this off to this extreme. Yes, there was another group down in, I think, Massachusetts that were operating remote. And I think there was a group in Vermont. But from what I read, there was difficulties in one of the locations. To do this right, you have to have the logger all in one central point. You're never going to pull off 11 operators using N1MN. Not going to happen. Trust me. You have to have a logger. And this is the most important thing, operating remote. Obviously, you want to be able to operate remote without latency. And that's what's the beauty about operating from a web page. We can generate perfect CW right here in this website page. Once we start adding remote rigs, once we start adding K3s and Maestros. You're just adding latency. But if you operate from this console that I'm showing you right here, there is very little latency. Those of you that watch me on a regular basis here know I operate here. You never hear latency while I'm transmitting or receiving. This web browser operation is just an incredible experience. I can't explain it because many of you have never operated from it. But Connor's in here, and I'd like to get people in on the discussion here if you have any questions. Connor, what's your experience operating from the web page? I mean, it's just an incredible experience. I cannot go back to a radio and a VFO knob. I just can't do it. Turning a VFO knob reminds me of flying a plane with analog digital round dials. Connor just said he even operates from HH2AA, and the latency is very little noticeable. And you're talking a third world country, and we're operating remote. And that's on solar power. So yeah, we're doing some pretty cool stuff here. We're doing great grounding stuff here. We're operating remote. We're doing it all from a web page. And this is how we pulled it off during the contest. We all had a central point here and operated in this web browser. Now, was it perfect? Absolutely not. But it did create 8,248 QSOs. Now, if we were physically there, could have we made more QSOs? I don't know, maybe. But that means we all had to jump in a plane or fly or drive there. And then how do you social distance in this environment? There's other people operating remote and have done it successfully. And then there's been others that have done it and have failed. And it all comes down to engineering. Building the station and doing it remotely and eliminating remote rigs. The remote rig was a great thing while it lasted. But the average guy is not going to be able to set up the remote rig to remote their station. Being able to do it from a web page is really nice. So that's how we did it during the contest. And moving forward, we got a lot going on. We got the Eastport station that we're going to be working on, getting that ready for multi-operations. We're working on the Jonesport station to get that multi. We have Summit, where we're going to be able to operate right in this console, single op2 radio. Again, all from the console. So if you're sitting here in the United States and you're saying, boy, I would love to be able to operate a contest someday from a really good station, but I don't know how to set up a logger. I don't know how to deal with COM ports. I don't want to, I don't know any of this stuff. But you've been dreaming about operating a contest? You can do it right in this console. And we had several guys do it this weekend. Several guys operated a contest for the first time using RHR. And their experience, the emails after the contest was like, oh my God, I never knew this was this much fun. Because we make it easy. Making it simple for the operator really makes it a really nice experience. So that's how we pulled it off. It was a great time by all. Moving forward, we're working on a lot of different projects. Operating remotely in a contest is going to probably be second nature to most now. Like I said, look at the WPX results. Look at the multi-multi, multi-single, and multi-two results. One third of all the operations were remote. Yes, we will be good for CQ Worldwide. There's no doubt about it. Now, the only thing that's going to hold us back, possibly, is COVID-19. We have to get through COVID-19 because we got to get contractors. We got to get everything bulldozed up there in Jonesport to put up these next set of towers. That's the only thing that would hold us back. But the software would just work beautiful. It was a great experience. and we all had a great time. So that's just a recap of the WPX CW contest this past weekend and how we did it, how we made 8,200 Qs. And moving forward, you're going to see a lot of us doing this. Just a few years ago, I remember back in 2014, I'll just touch on this quickly. Back in 2014, when we started, actually it was 2013, when we started doing remote, I remember all the naysayers. And some of these naysayers are very well-known contesters and DXers in the ham community. First thing they said, the latency's going to kill you. You might be able to work some DX, but you're not going to get honor roll operating remote. Then once guys were working DX on 160, breaking pileups from the East Coast, and working stuff that guys from the West Coast or the Midwest or even other guys on the East Coast couldn't work, they're like, whoa, now it's an unfair advantage. Now we have to change the DXCC rules. So that was the first stage. Stage number 2 was, you'll be able to operate remote, but you'll never win a contest. There's no way. And we've seen over the last couple of years what's been going on operating remote in contests. It's now expected that the remote stations are going to win because they're strategically placed in areas where these stations, can win. So there's been a progression here. Remote's never going to work. Remote's unfair for DXCC. You could never win a contest operating remote in a contest. And it just gradually goes up. The last one is, it's a commercial enterprise. These stations are privately owned, so I wouldn't call them commercially enterprised. Each station owner has to take care of their own station. And then, just gradually, over the time, there's always a curveball that's thrown into it. But we're just moving forward. As you can see, we're not playing around. This is how we do it remotely. And this has been a progression. Again, 2 claimed, don't know what the results are going to be, 2 claimed worldwide WPX SSB CW in the world scores from the United States. That's a first. Because the Europeans clearly have advantage when they're operating multi-multi because they can work the rest of Europe and get 2 points, while we're in the United States working the U.S., we can only get 1 point. So, being able to pull this off in both modes is really special. And we're not stopping. We're moving forward. We got a lot of good things going on. We have a very strong team here at RHR. We got the best IT team you could ever see. I'm the tower guy. I do the best I can. If I need help, I can get help. We maintain some pretty big stations here on the East Coast. I think we handled it pretty good. For a matter of fact, let me bring up the station list. Actually, this is the Jonesport station list. I would pull up the station list. I think all 30 stations are all up and running today. Nothing's down. I mean, that's an accomplishment in itself to keep 30 stations up and running. Some guys have a problem keeping 1 station up and running, and we're keeping 30 up on a regular basis. Oh, and then, Connor says, talk about the youth program. And, of course, the youth program. I mean, we get no recognition for the youth program, and that's okay. We get it. I notice when we mention the youth in amateur radio, most of the amateur community runs for the hills. I don't understand it. I don't understand why. I'm perplexed. Why wouldn't other amateur radio operators open their arms to the young people in ham radio? So sometimes I just sit back and wonder, scratch my head. I'm like, why aren't ham operators opening their arm to youth? Invite them to your station and operate a contest. Or at least mentor them. Do something. And the youth program that we have, the college and high school initiative, is going to be like no other. We already got it off the ground and running. Connor Black, that's in here, W4IPC, his station is already on the college initiative program. So we got the college initiative program besides all this other cool stuff we got going on with the remote contesting. So, yeah, a lot of cool stuff going on. Thank you very much for watching the video. Please share this with your friends. How we pulled off 8,200 Qs and 32 million points remote. I think we almost had the same score on SSB. It was like maybe 33 million points. And Charles, Connor just mentioned, yes, it's fully functional. And we also have Michael in here. Look, all the Utes are in here. Well, not all of them, but we got a good number of Utes in here. These young people follow me. I sometimes feel like a father figure to these guys. We got W0 Alpha Alpha Echo in here. We got Connor Black, Whiskey 4 Italy Papa Charlie. And we also have in here Charles Alpha Alpha 4 Lima Sugar. Remember those call signs, because you're going to hear an awful lot from them. These are some of the bright young people in amateur radio. Very respectable young men. And Connor says, yeah, you have no lie. Yeah, well, listen. You can't go outside. You'll get the coronavirus, Connor. So, again, appreciate you checking in with us. This is what we're doing remotely. We got this cool stuff with the contesting. We're going to have in-band, be able to do all that from the console. We have the great youth program, getting all the youths on amateur radio. If we can get every youth on amateur radio on the air in the U.S., we'll do it. We'll do it. We don't, when we say we're going to do something, we do it. That's usually how we operate. I don't promise anything. I don't promise anything if I can't keep the promise. Those guys, all those young people in here already know that. If I tell them, well, I don't know if I can do that. But if I tell them, yeah, we can pull that off, 99.9% of the time we pull it off. Sometimes we get a curveball thrown at us and we get delayed. But most of the time we can pull it off. And I really, this is what drives me, all these young people in here. You got Michael, you got Connor, you got W0 Alpha Alpha Echo, that's Case. And then we got the young superstar, CW Op, Charles in here. These are all the young people that are in amateur radio now, that are learning all this cool stuff that's going on. Then we have a lot of other youths on RHR that you never hear from. They keep to themselves. They just operate. They chase DXCC. They do whatever they need to do. And we also have, should I mention, Connor, the now maybe I shouldn't mention the private channel that you guys all chat on. So, all right. Anyway, thanks for checking in here. We'll do another video later. This is Ray W2RE in the RHR studio in New York. Everybody have a great day, and we'll catch